What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today, and the road to predict all 136 FBS level college football teams this summer now takes us to Memphis, Tennessee, where the Memphis Tigers are on tap for 2025 football predictions. And even after everything they lost, will the standard of this program be upheld this upcoming season? My name is Nate Pope, otherwise known as Tailgate Nate, and I want to thank you all so much for clicking on this video and for helping to support the channel. If you would like to support the channel even further, then please do what it says right below me. Hit that subscribe button, and while you're at it, you might as well ring the bell. Turning on notifications will ensure you don't miss an upload during prediction season, especially if that upload is of your favorite team. Now, I do have a sports media degree on the wall, and I am delving into the professional world of the industry. So if you would like to see all the cool stuff I get to do while still being up to date on what goes on this very YouTube channel, then you can give me a follow at TailgateNate29 on Twitter or Instagram, and feel free to even email me at tailgatenate29@gmail.com. Thank you all so much for supporting and interacting with me and the channel, however you may be doing so. And with all that said and done and out of the way, Ryan Silverfield is going to be leading this Memphis Tigers team for yet another season. And man, what the foundation he has built here with this program. A Memphis team that got back to double-digit wins again this season. However, this year, that task might be a little bit more difficult than it has been in the past, especially because of all the talent you did lose on both sides of the ball. In terms of returning production, this team does not rank great in those metrics. However, the foundation has been laid. You bring in a lot of talent through the portal. Can you uphold the standard you have set over the past couple of seasons? Well, we're going to find out. How do we do preview predictions here on the channel? We are going to go through a roster overview. Offense over here to the left, defense over here to the right. At the end of the video, we are going to dive on into the Memphis Tiger football schedule. I will give it a game-by-game preview and prediction. And this video overall is here to tell all of you what I think about the Memphis Tigers here in 2025. But before we do get started, you want to look right down below me. There are those returning production numbers according to ESPN, factoring in transfer portal additions up to a certain percentage. And again, none of those numbers will look very great. Again, you have to keep them in mind, especially after how much I'm about to tell you Memphis does lose. When you talk about recruiting and transfer portal class ranks, they are right down below that for the class of 2025. They are according to 24/7 Sports. Offensive coordinator Tim Cramsey gets us started on the offensive side of the football. And for the longtime Tigers, Seth Hennigan, it is finally time to say goodbye to him. He is no longer a Memphis Tiger. Has been with this program for a long, long time and is now going to go over with the Jacksonville Jaguars in the NFL. 3,502 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions last season as a Memphis Tiger. He's had 3,000 passing yards in every single season of his Tiger career. Best one came in 2023, where he passed for 3,800 yards, almost 3,900, 32 touchdowns, and 9 picks, and has remained pretty consistent over the course of his career. Has been a phenomenal weapon with this Memphis Tigers team, and he surely will be very, very missed in this quarterback room. When you lose an experienced piece like that in any other position, it already hurts. Now, when you lose it at the quarterback position, having to replace that kind of production with a guy that's been with you for that long and playing football at a consistently high level for this program, it's going to be pretty hard to try to fill those shoes. However, Ryan Silverfield thinks they found a guy in Brendan Lewis that they feel pretty confident in his ability to take over. Now, they do have a really good young true freshman by the name of A.J. Hill, the 145th ranked player overall in the class of 2025, enters here to this program as one of 2 4-star recruits in the class of 2025. He right now is projected, according to ourlads.com, to be that, with Brendan Lewis being the starter. He is transferred and is formerly of the Colorado Buffaloes. Last 2 seasons at Nevada, well, 2023 was not great. However, last year, much better. Around 68% completion percentage with 2,290 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. There is a lot to work on, and I think no matter the way you slice it, just because of the football player that Seth Hennigan was, anything else is going to be a downgrade in the quarterback position this year, and I do think Brendan Lewis is going to be that. Now, that is no slight to him and no slight to the talent that he does possess. He develops well. He can definitely be a good quarterback, but I think you're going to get a downgrade as far as the most important position on the field goes. When you talk about your running back room, yeah, again, it doesn't get much better. You lose your top two leading rushers, most notably in Mario Anderson, who, I mean, just was unbelievable for this team last year. 5.8 yards per carry, 1,362 yards, and 18 rushing touchdowns a season ago. You also are going to be losing Brandon Thomas, 338 yards and 9 touchdowns from a season ago. That is 27 rushing touchdowns of production gone out of this backfield because of those two guys that you do lose. And you do get a pretty nice return when Greg DeRosier, and hopefully I have said that last name correctly. If not, please correct me. I want to be able to say it right. But DeRosier is set to come back in this running back room. He has played a pretty substantial part throughout seasons in the past. Again, has never really been that true lead guy. Well, he's going to get a shot this year. He's also a cat that can not return, receive out of the backfield as well. He can be a very nice pass catching option. He's going to lead with pieces like Sutton Smith and Makari Bodford that are going to be sitting behind him as the number 2 and number 3 option. So again, you need to find guys to fill in the holes that Anderson and Thomas both left. Pretty tough shoes to fill, but DeRosier, I think, is a very nice start to be able to fill in those gaps. As far as the wide receiver room, again, you lose a lot here. Your top 5 wide receivers from a season ago all exit this program, most notably in Rock Taylor, who is now with the Pittsburgh Steelers, nearly 1,000 yards with a pair of touchdowns on the team high 66 catches last year. Demir Blankumsey is now with the New England Patriots, 677 yards in the team high 6 touchdowns a season ago. Kobe Drake is going to be gone, and again, you are losing a ton of other talent beyond them. In fact, all but 2 receivers that got 100 plus yards last year are gone. And there was quite a bit of them. There were 9 of them last year. So, hey, you do get 2 of those back. Again, not too shabby. Brady Cluse is one of those guys. And again, apologies if I said the last name wrong. Actually, no, he's not. I thought he was. He is not. He was just shy of it there with 90 yards a season ago. Marcelo Bussey, that's the one that was 147 yards in the touchdown for him last season. But again, a lot of transfers going to be entering this room. Jaden Thompson is over from Louisville. CJ Smith is going to come over here from Purdue. And then you get Jerkari Caldwell, who is over from North Carolina A&T, formerly of South Carolina. So transfers are going to make a bulk of the spots in both receiver and the tight end rooms, because when you look at the tight end rooms, Jerry Cross is going to be transferring in from Penn State, and then Bryce Anderson is over from Iowa Central Community College. So 2 opposite spectrums clashing in here to make up the tight end room. Again, the question will surface, as well as the quarterback position, running back position. How is the new core going to fit in with this system, and who steps up in order to make those big time plays? I'll answer that question here in just a little bit more, but many spots are going to need filled on the offensive line. You do get a boost, though, in a very rare scenario where Malachi Breland is going to come back to this offensive line. A plethora of transfers are going to fill in surrounding him, behind him. Again, a pretty new offensive unit to this. I say a pretty new offensive unit as a whole. Running backs don't see many transfers come in, but I think DeRosier is going to be a very nice piece that can lead the running back room. But it is a question. Again, I think you take a step back, but how much of a step back? Is it a little step back? Is it a big step back? What will Brandon Lewis look like? What are these new wide receivers going to look like? Can the offensive line step up and be as solid as it's been the past couple of years for Seth Hennigan? If not, maybe even take a step forward in the right direction this year. A lot of questions offensively, also a lot of questions defensively, because Jordan Hankins, your defensive coordinator, loses pretty much everybody off of this defense from last season. And much like the offense, they're going to be revamping a lot, if not pretty much everything, through the transfer portal. Now, when you talk about the talent that does leave, defensive front loses many sack leaders. Javon Dennis was one of those guys who was really, really good a season ago. Now, he did only have 1 sack last year, but you are going to be losing him. And here's where some of the sack leaders come in. Leading tackler Chandler Martin is gone off to the Baltimore Ravens. 111 tackles, 7 sacks, 4 passes defended, and an interception for him last season. You're also going to be losing Elijah Herring with 3.5 sacks from a season ago, 60 tackles with those 3.5 sacks, 4 pass defended, 2 interceptions, which was second on the team a season ago, as well as a ton more depth pieces that had some solid sack production last year. And even when you dive on into the secondary, most of your secondary losses, or I say your secondary does lose, most of your highly productive pieces. A ton of really good members of the secondary that you've seen last year and even over the past couple of seasons are going to be gone. Most notably, Greg Rubin. Yep, he is going to end up leaving this program. 11 passes defended a season ago. Davion Ross is now with the Tennessee Titans. 11 passes defended and a team high 3 interceptions while being a top 10 tackler at 51 tackles. So you get the big picture, right? I could go through name by name and tell you, yeah, this player's gone, this player's gone, this player's gone, and just list it all down. I think you get what I mean, and that returning production number right down there tells you a lot as well. This is a defense that loses a ton of pieces. It's going to have to try to replace a lot of production from a season ago. Well, when you dive on into the front seven, William Whitlow is a big returning piece. He had 24 tackles and was actually second on the team with 4 sacks last year. Again, a very rare instance of a returner coming back to this team. Huge to get Whitlow back, a guy that's been in the system and has experience. But when you take a look at the rest of the defensive front, I mean, I really am not going to see much more returner. You're going to get a lot of transfers coming in here. Rayan Buell, Puna Walker, Chase Carter, Taylor Burton, Sam Brunfield, Everett Rousseau, Drew Watts, lost my place. Cam Burton, DeMarco Ward, and many others are going to be entering this team through the transfer portal. Now, a couple of those guys were really good pieces. Sam Brumfield was a really good talent over with Virginia Tech, posting an 80 tackle season in 2023. Drew Watts was a really good piece over with Nevada over the past couple of seasons. So the quality of transfer still is really good. But again, it's the matter of you have to replace everything. As far as the secondary goes, you do get 2 returners in Cortland Marsh and Cameron Miller coming in as fairly experienced players, but tons of portal pieces are going to come in and they're going to make up most of that production. Most notably, Amarian Cooper, coming over from Florida State, formerly of Colorado. Jalen Thompson was at Michigan State last year, and then Miles Pollard was at Michigan for a couple of seasons, as well as pretty much your entire depth position, and the rest of that 2 deep is built through the transfer portal. What's more, too, hey, special teams, kickers are people too. Let's show them some love. And you're going to pretty much get an all-new squad of kickers and punters this season as well. Punters, you do get returning pieces. The transfer kicker, Gianni Spetic, is going to transfer into, hopefully be that primary place kicker for you. But you get my big picture with this Memphis team, right? Everything is changing. Offensively, it's changing. Defensively, it's changing. A ton of portal pieces come in. However, even with all of the change, I think there is a lot of quality in the branded transfer that you're bringing in here. And I think there is obviously there's a lot of quantity, but there's really good quality. And I think the foundation that this Memphis team is built upon, that this Memphis program is built upon, it sits proudly on top of that, and I think it's going to lead it a very long way this year. Ryan Silverfield is a great head coach, and I think the talent on this team, despite everything you lose, is still pretty good, and the foundation that this team is sat upon is really, really strong, and I think can help carry them this season. Well, let us now take a look at the 2025 Memphis Tiger football schedule. And let me tell you, there are a lot of pits to navigate here on this schedule. But again, with the talent that you brought in through the portal, with the foundation that you have set your program upon, Memphis can do pretty well with this schedule, even though there are a lot of landmines. We'll talk about it when we get there. But first, right down below me, odds to win the conference and get into the college football playoff, because with group of 5 teams, we look at our odds to make the playoff because we know it's going to a lot's going to happen for them to go win the national championship. Memphis actually has higher college football playoff odds than a lot of other teams throughout the nation. They might be second or third out there in terms of the odds market to get into the group of 5 spot, or I should say to get into the college football playoff as the group of 5 representative. Memphis, according to the odds makers, again, current as of recording this video, they do say that Memphis is going to be one of the better teams to challenge Boise State to get into the college football playoff, possibly right up there with the Liberty, Tulane, Navy, and James Madison, maybe a couple of others in there as well. Plus 500 odds to win the conference. That is towards the top of the leaderboard there. In fact, maybe not as high as you think, however. I think they sit fourth or fifth. I'm leaning towards fourth. But again, these odds are current as of recording this video, are subject to change. When you dive on into the Tiger football schedule, in-state team, FCS level opponent in Chattanooga that I don't think Memphis is going to have much trouble with. I think they should be able to beat the Mocs in week 1. However, now you got to go on the road and play 2 Sunbelt teams that I wouldn't necessarily take lightly. I think no matter how this thing plays out, you do beat Georgia State. Just not a very good team last year. Don't think they're going to be that competitive this upcoming season either. But again, going on the road, especially after maybe not trying to set a new foundation, because the foundation of the program is already built, but trying to put forth the standard with these new guys and trying to implement it with them and see what you can do with the basically entirely new team that you do have to work with in front of you could pose some challenges. And if you get one game where you just can't figure things out, it definitely can falter. Now, Troy was not that great of a Sun Belt team last year either. However, with Gerard Parker and the Troy Trojans, I do like some of the transfers they bring in. I am still optimistic that Goose Crowder can see some improvement at the quarterback position. Troy defense is going to be one of the most experienced units in the Sun Belt Conference. And much like Georgia State, even though I don't think Troy's going to win the game, they can give Memphis some fits and be able to send the Tigers home with a loss on the road. So I would not discount those 2 Sun Belt road games, but I do have Memphis winning both of them, as both of those teams struggled last year. Don't know they get much better this season, and I think Memphis is the more talented team when you compare them to both of those programs. However, I do think they suffer their first loss of the year when Arkansas comes to town. I love that Arkansas is traveling to Memphis. I think it's great for college football that you see Power 4 schools now starting to go on the road and play in Group of 5 environments, especially one that can be as loud and raucous as Memphis. Would it surprise me to see the Tigers pull off this upset? No, not at all. Absolutely not. However, I think Arkansas has got enough up its sleeves and enough talent surrounding that program to be able to overpower Memphis, especially still at the beginning stages when you're trying to fill in a whole bunch of talent. Taylon Green, I think it's going to be a really dynamic option and can be really hard for this Memphis defense to slow down. Love what you did in the wide receiver room. I do like a lot of the pieces that Arkansas did get out of the portal. Defensively, you take a look at some of the pieces that are coming back, especially in that linebacking unit with Steven Dix and Xavier Sori, as well as Bradley Shaw. Transfers all across the board. I love what Arkansas has. Maybe they fall victim to the SEC schedule a little bit, and maybe Sam Pittman is out of a job at the end of the season. But in terms of the matchup here with Memphis, I do like it. I think Arkansas proves themselves to be worthy of this challenge on the road. And even though Memphis can keep it close, I think the Hogs get it all done on the road. And that is the first loss for the Memphis Tigers this season. You move on to now talking about the Florida Atlantic Owls, and they are getting a new head coach this year, Zach Kittley. You remember anything about him? He was at Western Kentucky and Texas Tech with a high-time passing raid offense. Now, Zach Kittley is a guy that has quite the job to be able to try to take over for here. However, Caden Veltkamp is coming in to play quarterback. He's very familiar with the Western Kentucky system after, of course, playing there. And you do have a lot of good pieces over in through the transfer portal. Easton Messer is a Western Kentucky transfer that's going to have immediate connection with Caden Veltkamp. Defensively, that's the side of the ball you really want to get better and hone in on. I'm not real worried about the offense. Can the defense stand up to what Memphis can throw at you offensively? And even with all the changes, I don't think so. I think it'll take some time for Zach Kittley, who is a first-time head coach, to be able to fully implement his system and get the guys he wants and being able to do overall what the team wants. I do think Florida Atlantic can be competitive this year and might very well surprise people once it is all said and done. But as of right now, I do think Memphis is that more talented team. They have a better foundation built at this moment, and I do believe that they will get that one done. At home against Tulsa, I don't have much doubt about this one. I think Tulsa could be one of the worst teams in the country this season. I'm just not real high on them. I don't think they have many pieces that are going to fit together well, especially not enough to beat a talented team like Memphis. So for me, that's a loss. for the Memphis Tigers. Or I should say on the road against UAB. Getting ahead of myself a little bit. They finally get their first bye week right here as well. Again, watch out for this road game on the road against UAB. Again, on the road against Georgia State, Troy, Florida Atlantic. Those are all dangerous and tough road games. So is this one right here against the UAB Blazers. Now, Trent Dilfer is not a guy that has sold him. He has not sold himself well to me. I do not like him as a head coach. I probably am thinking that UAB is coach hunting at the end of the season. And there are a lot of pieces here that, while I still like individually, Jevin Jackson is a UTEP transfer coming into play running back for you. And I think Jalen Kitna can provide some good things at the quarterback position, especially if he improves what he did last year. Again, Trent Dilfer for me, I just don't see it. I didn't see it from the beginning. You're trying to rebuild this defense. Might be a little bit too late for Trent Dilfer. I think UAB is coach hunting at the end of the year, and Memphis goes on the road and wins that game against UAB. They also, I think, are going to beat South Florida. This is probably one of the few home games where Memphis is going to be favored. Well, okay, Arkansas, I definitely watch out for that one. So this is another tricky one here for Memphis. I'll just go ahead and leave it at that. At home against South Florida and having to try to defend Byron Brown. I think he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the G5 ranks, at the very least in the American Athletic Conference. Cartavius Norton is a Charlotte transfer, originally coming over from Iowa State, that posted some good numbers with the 49ers a season ago. So him playing running back for the Bulls, I think, can be a pretty dangerous option. I do like a lot of the pieces they have in that wide receiver room, as well as defensively. Yes, especially up front. They added some really nice pieces on the defensive interior. Josh Celisar is transferring in. Devin Lee is transferring in. They're from a couple of SEC programs, as well as a lot of guys in that two deep, and some good returning talent overall on that defense. Hey, don't get it mistaken. South Florida can push for a conference title this season, but I do think Memphis getting this one at home with their home fans behind them is important, and I do think Memphis wins the game against South Florida there in week 9. On the road against Rice, hey, it is Halloween. Spooky things can happen, but I do not think Rice is as talented as what Memphis has. You are losing E.J. Warner. You are losing Dean Connors. You are losing some wide receiver pieces, some defensive pieces. I just don't think Rice is going to be as talented as they have been in the past, and I do not think they are as talented to go up and beat the Memphis Tigers. Rice last year, I clicked on the wrong thing. Give me 1 second. Rice last season was a fairly competitive team, even though they did miss out on a bowl game. They just got a lot to replace for me, and it's a team that I think Memphis can dismantle pretty handedly. Now you get into this last 3-game stretch, and this is where rubber meets the road. Compared to everything else, maybe besides the Arkansas and South Florida games, those were warm-ups compared to what you're going to get in the final stretch of the season with Tulane, East Carolina, I've told you to watch out for them, and this one against Navy. I think you'll lose at home to the Tulane Green Wave. I do not think Memphis overall is as talented as they have been in years prior. Well, I think they brought in a ton of good talent through the transfer portal. It speaks to the type of talent they had on the team before. For me to say, I just don't think the team is as talented. And Tulane is still going to be one of the best G5 teams in the business. Caden Zamanza at quarterback. Yep, love it. Love that transfer. Yes, you are losing Mekhi Hughes, some really good wide receiver pieces. I still think you have good weapons behind the quarterback room and on the outside. And defensively, just a ridiculous defense that I think is still going to be really, really good. And look, John Summerall is going to continue what Willie Fritz built. That is a loss for me for the Memphis Tigers. And then this one here against East Carolina. I have told all of you not to sleep on East Carolina this upcoming season. You get Caton Hauser back. You get some really important wide receiver pieces coming back to this team. You get some amazing defensive pieces back, especially transfers coming into the defensive backfield. And I think East Carolina is going to pull off a win that they shouldn't this upcoming season. And I think this is the one, especially going on the road to play in front of a fan base at East Carolina that is really, really passionate. I think Memphis is going to get got, and I think Memphis does lose that game on the road to East Carolina. I like the Pirates this year. If I had a team to surprise in the American Athletic. They're probably going to be it. But I do think Memphis, after the bowl game, after the back-to-back or not after the bowl game, after the bye week, after back-to-back losses, they can settle down, and I do think they beat Navy. I think Navy stumbles once in a game where maybe they're going to be favored or on their road to the college football playoff, and they're looking at it saying, hey, yes, we got a chance. Oh, but we run into Memphis. This is where I think that culture and that foundation of the program is going to stand strong. So I'm going with 9-3 for the Memphis Tigers. It's not the double-digit win season. I do think there are a lot of road mines and a lot to navigate on this schedule. However, I think the foundation of this program is still really strong. It leads them to a successful year, but I do not think they will be competing at the top, at the very top. They will be towards the top, but not at the top of the American Athletic this season. Still a good, successful year under Ryan Silverfield. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and remember to play hard but tailgate harder. I'll see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.